feel like a cynical old man when it comes to World of Warcraft. I'm always looking at whatever Blizzard does and thinking, yeah, how are you gonna screw this one up? But I have to admit that the WoW team has been doing pretty alright recently. Most recently, the Wrath of the Lich King Classic Pre-patch is up, and in case you haven't heard, Classic WoW is cool again. Take a look at the Ironforge population site, and back in August you have 190,000 characters still active. And this is only raid and PvP data that doesn't account for people coming in back to level and casually play the game. But then on August 30th, they launched the pre-patch for Wrath Classic, and server queues are through the roof and fresh servers are populated and healthy. The raid logs and PvP data went up by 100,000 active players in a week. That is insane. And you can feel the difference all across the game. I did 2 dungeons in 1 day. I found a group in 10 minutes. This is pre-patch. This isn't even the launch day for the expansion. We don't have sub counts, and I can't give you an exact number of players that I see out leveling in the world, but here's what I've personally felt's been happening over the past couple of months. Tell me if this matches any of your experiences. When Wrath was announced, I started noticing that there were other players out in the world. It was nice, you know, it was still hard to get a group going for anything but TBC heroics, but it was nice to see players again. Over time, I started to see more and more players, and actually saw people asking for leveling dungeons in the LFG chat. And then we get an announcement that there will be a 50% XP buff called Joyous Wonders or whatever. Leveling felt great after that. I got a druid up to level 24 for the 40th time, and it was awesome. More players came back, and I visually saw the difference in leveling zones. I was actually grouping with other people and running a few dungeons. It wasn't crazy populated on my server, but it was noticeably different. And then this little thing called pre-patch hits, and the day it drops, the mega servers have queues lasting all day like we're back in Warlords of Draenor. Everyone wants to get their spot on the most popular servers, but we can still see a boost in the population on the other lesser servers as well. The fresh servers are healthy and populated too, and since we all still have this Joyous Wonders buff for 50% extra XP, everyone on the server is pretty happy to be there leveling. The footage you're watching is from September 5th, a week after the pre-patch dropped. Yes, I'm a healer, but it's been a long time since I've been able to join a group and head to the dungeon in under 5 minutes. And people were nice and talking and coordinating groups for quest mobs. This might not last forever, but you gotta at least expect it'll hold till Wrath actually launches. The pre-patch is a perfect mix for new players and people coming back to the game. If you've ever been curious to try World of Warcraft at its peak popularity, now is the time. We are back in the 2008 WoW high. Maybe not the same numbers, but pretty damn good. And everything is good for new and returning players alike. You see Death Knights everywhere, they're overpowered monsters that basically start with level 60 TBC content, and they are new and fun to play as, but more importantly, having so many new leveling characters in the TBC content means that you can fill TBC dungeon groups way faster. The XP buff is making leveling faster, which means people are rolling new tunes. That means that the leveling zones all across Azeroth are actually filled with players. And not to mention that the fresh servers have all of these benefits on top of being a complete restart to the realm, which I personally think is super fun to take part in every once in a while. So put this all together and you have a World of Warcraft game that is actually easy and fun to play. XP buffs, fresh servers, and Death Knights, they take nothing away from the endgame hardcore players. It's still just as complicated to raid and prepare for Wrath, but it gives a jolt to the leveling community. And that's not to say it makes leveling a character pointless. The challenge of leveling is still there, you still gotta do it and it takes time, but you're getting to experience it a little more closely to how it was back in 2008 when people played the original Wrath expansion. When there was a community with leveling and raiding guilds, when there was group content that mattered and gave you a taste of what endgame dungeons and raids had to offer. God, I feel old talking about Classic like I miss the community and talking with people in dungeons. It is nice though, it feels like an MMO again. I also just wanted to point out how easy it was for Blizzard to make Classic a bit more popular and bring people back to the game. All they have to do is say Wrath and give a 50% XP buff and people go fucking nuts. Let's just get out the scoreboard. Blizzard gets 2 wins for saying the words Wrath of the Lich King and giving us the 50% XP buff. They get a loss for the ungodly server queues and offering server transfers as a solution to the queues. That doesn't really address the problem, Blizzard. You probably should have prepared with larger servers. They get a win for the fresh realms that are fun for the short term, even if their longevity is in question. I'm going to give them a loss for the LFG tool since it really doesn't do too much that we couldn't have already done with the TBC Classic tool, and right now it's kind of a mess to use. I'll give them a win for allowing Death Knights and removing the leveling restrictions on the first one you make. It doesn't really affect me since I have a couple of level 60s, but it's a nice change that gets players into their fun faster. I'll stop there since those are the major changes that came with the pre-patch. Look at the scoreboard, Blizzard. You fucked up some, but overall you did good. We're in this weird period where Classic is doing well, and the Dragonflight Alpha is getting some good coverage and looking relatively better than Shadowlands, according to some other YouTubers who care enough to cover it in depth. And this weird time of success for WoW makes me a bit skeptical. My mind goes crazy trying to make sense of all the bad decisions they've made before and the ones they may make again. Why haven't they been able to do this before? I feel like WoW players are so patient with Blizzard. Like, we'll come back to the game for literally anything, as long as it's not literal garbage. And it makes me think, where do we go from here? Wrath is popular, but what's after that? If Dragonflight isn't good enough to keep our attention for more than a couple months, is Blizzard going to resort to time-wasting techniques like they did with Shadowlands? No one can know for sure, but the state that both retail and classic are in now makes me look at previous decisions with that much more scrutiny, the biggest being Season of Mastery. What the hell happened to Season of Mastery? Does anyone else feel violated that they were originally excited for it? I kind of feel dirty that I got hyped for it and even made a couple videos about it during the month it was popular. If retail is getting a revamp with Dragonflight, classic is getting a resurgence with Wrath, what's the plan for Season of Mastery? It still exists, it's there, it doesn't have many players, but it's there. The reality is that Season of Mastery doesn't fill a need anymore. I feel like originally it was supposed to be Classic with some changes, while Classic Era and TBC Classic were Classics with no changes. But now they're putting out Wrath Classic with some changes, and Classic Era with no changes still technically exists. So what role does Season of Mastery play? What niche does it fill now? In my opinion, if Blizzard still wants to keep Season of Mastery alive, make it crazy. Make the leveling super fast, make the classes feel super overpowered, reduce cooldowns by 50%, make flying available at the start, do all of it at once or one at a time and make the season shorter, make it a challenge mode with achievements based on progress related to the seasonal mechanic. Do something crazy. I mean, why not? Season of Mastery doesn't fit anywhere anymore. It's obsolete as of now, so make it fun. Give players a reason to go back and play it for a bit. Make players say, yeah, this is fucking weird, but I'm glad I tried it. I'll be back in 4 months to try whatever's next. This will give Blizzard a bit more time to work on retail and classic and not worry about having to maintain a constant day-to-day forced login for any player that wants to keep up in power level. If players get bored, they have a seasonal WoW sandbox to go try out for a bit. I've been playing Path of Exile a lot the past year, and I've been getting used to this seasonal content thing. You know what makes it work? Changes. New things, big or small, to make the game feel fresh and fun. Sometimes it doesn't work, but every 3 months they try again, and overall, I think Path of Exile is doing pretty alright. WoW could do the same thing in my opinion. Maybe not every 3 months, but something like that. Screw the integrity of Classic, you did that already, twice in the past 4 years. You have Classic era servers that are basically dead now. Make Season of Mastery crazy. If this resurgence in popularity with Wrath Classic shows anything, it's that World of Warcraft players are begging for Blizzard to give them WoW content old and new. We will eat up anything they give us, as long as it's not absolute garbage like the last 4 years. Wrath Classic will come and go. Dragonflight will come and hopefully be good enough to bring people back to retail for a while. So for now, things are actually looking up, which is why I'm on edge and a bit skeptical that Blizzard is going to mess this up somehow. But really, I made this entire video just to push my Season of Mastery propaganda. I want 200% XP boost with 500% movement speed. I want a season where we fight Ragnaros and kill Jaden at the same time. I want a season where Paladins have a Dark Knight talent tree, and all their abilities are a mix of Shadow Priests and Ret Pallies. I want a season where Malfurion wakes up from his dream sleep and gives Druids a new animal form. I want a season where Draenei and Blood Elves are introduced, but to unlock them you need to duel Velen or Lorthamar. I want a season where you can gain reputation with Jaina Proudmoore and she'll teach you spells to use in PvP no matter what class you are. I want a season where Hogger is the endgame boss. I want a season where the Sewer Beast in the Stormwind Canals is your animal companion who will help you solve mysteries out in the world. I want a season where the Dark Moon Fair gives you raid level gear if you complete Torghast-style randomly generated dungeons. Some of those are jokes, some of them are not. I'll let you decide which ones are which. But of course, I'd rather hear what you think. Are you playing Classic right now? Do you have any interest now that there's some hype and player population back in the game? Do you care about saving Season of Mastery or making it a new game mode altogether? But most importantly, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you liked it and subscribe for more random content. Thank you for being awesome viewers who continue to support my channel, and I can't wait to see what we talk about next.